So there are a few people that have joined the website that I don't know, so I'm just going to do a little bit of an introduction with them. So this is sort of an informal gathering of friends who are interested in meditation, and the emphasis here is on what's referred to as Advaita Vedanta, which is the philosophy of oneness, briefly put. So there's lots of information online about this, and what's happening here is that this is my sort of little forum for giving a kind of meditation that I found useful, that's built on my practice of yoga with my teacher, who is Murti Mishra, the author of Fundamentals of Yoga, and he has an ashram. He's now no longer with us, but he has an ashram in upstate New York, in Monroe, New York. So I studied with him from the time I was a kid. I mean, it was like over 50 years ago. And I was encouraged to explore other things as well. So I had for a long time tried different kinds of therapy, was involved with Subud, which a few people know about, Zen with Philip Kapleau. I was particularly interested in the writings of Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta Maharaj, and these are two outstanding proponents of this kind of path. And although I use a little bit of jargon once in a while, and we chant a little bit at the end of the meditation in Sanskrit, it's not necessary at all, in my opinion. And it's just, I do it because of it's sort of a matter of style, because of its so many years of doing that, I just find it helpful. I'm not of the opinion that you have to speak in Pali to talk to Buddha. I mean, if Buddha's so clever, surely he can understand English. You know, or Japanese or Chinese, you know. But anyway, so this is a matter of what sort of flavor appeals to you. So now I read quite often from this fellow Nisargadatta Maharaj, because he was quite an unusual fellow in that he was very talkative. Very often when people have really deep enlightenment experiences, they become quite quiet, you know, and they realize in a way the sort of futility of of haranguing people, and it's in Zen they speak. In Zen, one of the vows is to save all sentient beings. So you say that if you're a Buddhist. Meanwhile, it's known that upon awakening, you can't find any to save. So people who are really deeply enlightened guys tend to be kind of quiet. But this fellow was really very open about his experience, and even to the point of being not argumentative, but inviting people to question and doing sort of verbal battle with them. And it was really cool because he's very uses modern style of speaking. He died about 1981, and he pointedly didn't take part in advertising what he was about. He just spoke to people because they came and talked to him. He didn't write any books. These are just questions and answers. He didn't charge for services, do infomercials. You know, people have erected websites, but they're just people who like him. So I'm going to read a little bit about this fellow, and to know that although the little pamphlet that I put together, and I'll start posting it on the website, it's called Meditation That Works. Um, it seems kind of street level, but it's actually pretty serious. This is, in a way, if you're a beginner, then you might want to have a little bit of background. However, it's pretty hard to tell if someone is a beginner. So, so I'm going to tell a little story in this regard. At the time, I was spending time with my teacher, who definitely I'll call my guru. I asked him that I've been reading a book about some guy who in India who'd spent 20 years in a cave, meditating like all day, every day. And he came back to town and he said like nothing had changed. And he was like really disillusioned. And so, so as my teacher, I said, what are we going to do? We sit for a half hour a day sometimes, what hope is there for us? This guy can't do anything after 20 years. So he tells a story, and I've told it before, but not online. So a gardener gets a new job and goes to work for some fellow. And he gets up early in the morning to water plants and so on. And you notice that this fellow goes to, he just leaves and comes back an hour later. So he got a bit curious. So one day he followed the master of the house and saw that he went to a graveyard, and he was up to a grave, and he sits down carefully and folds his hands and just sits there for an hour. And he gets up and walks home. So the gardener thought, this is a really curious activity. He said, what in blazes could this guy be up to? So he followed him 2 or 3 days. One day he went up close to him, put a mirror up to his nose. There was very little, he was hardly breathing. It was still, there was nothing, he wasn't speaking at all. He was like totally quiet, like immobile. So one day, the master of the house goes away somewhere, and the gardener says, this is my chance, I'm going to find out what this is all about. So he goes up to the graveyard, goes to that particular grave, and then he sits down, he folds his hands. You see, how do you fold your hands? He sits like this, and immediately sat like that, then wham, like the heavens opened, and there was the bright lights, and the angels came and said, sir, you are enlightened. He says, whoa. He said, you get the wrong guy. I was just here. I'm just here because I saw this other guy doing it. I want to check it and see what it's all about. And the head angel says, no. This is all the work you had left to do. So, so then, that's all what happened after that. That was the point of the story. And the real point is that we don't really know where we are. And if you're attracted at all to this kind of thing, that's a sort of sign that something inside you that sort of a grace is moving inside you. Your real teacher isn't anywhere outside you. Your real teacher is inside. So I'm not a teacher here. I'm just showing you, introducing you to this stuff and showing you this technique, which will help you get a point of quietness inside. When you get to that point of quiet, it's not a passive state, it's an active state. You like hold yourself in that quiet, and stuff happens. Something will happen. And that happening, in that you'll find a knack. There's sort of a knack of letting go and just watching. And then in that, you'll be taken in. And just, it happens to a little bit of us at different times. And just a little bit of it happening is tremendously encouraging. And you may see like flashing lights, you may have like intuitions or just like a flash of joy. And so that's that's a bit of background. So you may or may not be a beginner. I'm suggesting that you don't know. None of us really know where we are, but it's enough that we're doing it. I don't think there's a more important thing in the whole world, than this kind of activity. the real elephant in the room is not what our bank account is, or the state of the world, or whether Britain is in the EU, or whether there's terrorism, or whether the planet is going to implode. Is that that this body gets snuffed out, and maybe there's a way out of that, just maybe. And the wise guys say, yeah, check it out. But we got to check. Just reading it isn't what required. We actually have to do something about it. So this endeth my harangue.
I mean, we can't just send a tweet.
Sorry?
We can't just send a tweet.
Send a tweet? No, we can't.
We have to do it.
No. But if we listen for a tweet, maybe the bird is talking in our ear.
Follow the bird, he's not given.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of this chapter. This is the book I Am That, which I go on and on about. I think it's very cool. This is the middle of an answer, but I'm going to just read this. It's about about doership. The sages say that we are actually not the doer. Actually, all is done for us. It's just we think that we're doing, but actually, we're just experiencing movement of consciousness. So, Maharaj says, in answer to a question, once you realize that all comes from within, that the world in which you live has not been projected onto you, but by you, your fear comes to an end. Without this realization, you identify yourself with the externals, like the body, mind, society, nation, humanity, even God or the Absolute. But these are all escapes from fear. It is only when you fully accept your responsibility for the little world in which you live and watch the process of its creation, preservation, and destruction that you may be free from your imaginary bondage. Your imaginary bondage. Questioner: well, why should I imagine myself so wretched? Maharaj: you do it by habit only. Change your ways of feeling and thinking. Take stock of them and examine them closely. You are in bondage by inadvertence. Attention liberates. You are taking so many things for granted. Begin to question. The most obvious things are the most doubtful. Ask yourself such questions as, was I really born? Am I really so-and-so? How do I know that I exist? Who are my parents? Have they created me? Or have I created them? Okay, this is a pretty big question. Must I believe all that I am told about myself? Who am I anyhow? You put so much energy into building a prison for yourself. Now spend as much on demolishing it. In fact, demolition is easy, for the false dissolves when it is discovered. All hangs on the idea, I am. Examine it very thoroughly. It lies at the root of every trouble. It is a sort of skin that separates you from the reality. The real is both within and without the skin, but the skin itself is not real. This I am idea was not born with you. You could have lived very well without it. It came later, due to your self-identification with the body. It created an illusion of separation where there was none. It made you a stranger in your own world, and made the world alien and inimical. Without the sense of I am, life goes on. There are moments when we are without the sense of I am, at peace and happy. With the return of the I am, trouble starts. So, question asks, well, how is one to be free from the I sense? Maharaj: you must deal with the I sense if you want to be free of it. Watch it in operation and at peace. How it starts and when it ceases. What it wants and how it gets it. Till you see it clearly and understand fully. After all the yogas, whatever their source and character, have only one aim, to save you from the calamity of a separate existence, of being a meaningless dot in a vast and beautiful picture. You suffer because you have alienated yourself from reality, and now you seek to escape from this alienation. You cannot escape from your own obsessions. You can only cease nursing them. It is because the I am is false that it wants to continue. Reality need not continue, knowing itself indestructible. It is indifferent to destruction of forms and expressions. To strengthen and stabilize the I am, we do all sorts of things, all in vain, for the I am is being rebuilt from moment to moment. It is unceasingly It is unceasing work, and the only radical solution is to dissolve the separative sense of which I am such and such person once and for good. Being remains, but not self-being. Questioner says, I have definite spiritual ambitions. Must I not work for their fulfillment? Maharaj, no ambition is spiritual. All ambitions are for the sake of the I am. If you want to make any real progress, you must give up all idea of personal attainment. The ambitions of the so-called yogis are preposterous. A man's desire for a woman is innocence itself compared with the lusting for an everlasting personal bliss. The mind is a cheat. The more pious it seems, the worse its betrayal. People come to you very often with their worldly troubles and ask for help, says the questioner. How do you know what to tell them? Maharaj, I just tell them what comes to my mind at the moment. I have no standardized procedure in dealing with people. Questioner, you are sure of yourself, but when people come to me for advice, how am I to be sure that my advice is right? Maharaj, watch in what state you are, from what level you talk. If you talk from the mind, you may be wrong. If you talk from full insight into the situation with your own mental habits in abeyance, your advice may be a true response. The main point is to be fully aware that neither you nor the man in front of you are mere bodies. If your awareness is clear and full, a mistake is less probable.
That's so true.
So this little meditation is built on a cycle of relaxation, and we use the word relax. So, and each letter stands for something. R is for relaxation, just stands for relax. E, this is where we put our focus in 5 different areas. R, to relax the body. E, to feel electrical pulsations and currents in the body. L, listening to the sound current, which is a sound which some people call tinnitus. This is a sound the yogis use. A, for the all-seeing eye, for the visual field, which is a higher and more subtle sense of vibration. And the X is the unknowable. This is referred, the closest we get to this ordinarily is the sense I am. And and that is unknowable because we are that. So we do this relatively quickly because we sort of join the speed of the mind, which is sort of sped up by our everyday experience these days. So relax the body. Just say, I relax my body. Feel the electrical body. Usually felt by tingling in the hands and face. But the whole body will feel it once you are relaxed. Listen to the sound current. There are sounds happening internally. Now, A stands for all-seeing eye. This eye sees all internal happenings. That the eyes are closed, the movement of thoughts. Observes everything else, observes the state of the body, sound current. It's the eye of awareness. Now back to the X. The X is, what is it that sees? When we open our eyes, does the light rush in or does the light rush out? The X stands for the ultimate subject. Anything we can be aware of, we cannot be, but is something stamped upon us by our training in society. Another quick round. Just say, I relax my body. Let the face fall. Feel tingling in and around the body. Body is immersed in an electrical field. It's like a broadcasting station. Hear the sound current. The many different sounds. The inner eye. Focus on the sound current. What do you hear from the right side of the head in the internal space? Thoughts arise. From where? Watch them. Like a cloud passing, or like traffic, dispassionately. It had nothing to do with us. What is it that sees? What is that by means of which I am aware that I am? There are many ways to ask this question. What am I? What is it that sees? do I know that I exist? Whenever I use the word I refer to a sense. Not the body, but something more intimate. It never changes. We say, I am happy, I am sad, I am upset, I am excited. All those change, but not I. Hold on to this I. Now survey the body. See how it feels more relaxed. Electricity is increased, or our perception of it. Mind is filled with sound internally. We see light even though the eyes are closed. It's not that we are seeing light from outside through the eyelids. The miracle is that we see. That we are aware. It's the light of consciousness. Reach back and back to the source of that light. Behind all this, I am. Behind all this, I am. Hear the sound current. There are many different sounds happening internally. In fact, every external sound is echoed there. And at some point you may not be able to tell whether the sound comes from inside or outside. Thoughts will arise. Whenever a thought arises, to whom does this arise? Well, to me, of course. And who is this me? Who is it that I call I? What is the background to my awareness? My mind wandered a moment ago. Where was I in that moment? The mind is like a lake. We watch from the bottom of the lake and don't disturb it. It becomes clear. And thoughts skitter by. Let them go. No making whirlpools out of them. Put the thinking mind to sleep. Let the sleeping mind let the mind sleep. Now for 1 minute, no thinking means no language, no labeling. Doesn't mean nothing will happen. But we don't follow whatever happens. I'm an impartial witness to any mental state. matter what arises, feelings, perceptions, not this, but that which is aware of this, that I am. Reach back and back. Not the body and mind. Not the body and mind. Well, what then? Upon what is this body and mind painted? What's the meditator? Behind the meditator is that by means of which I know I am. I am that is the admonition. Triambakam Vijamahe Sugandhyam Pushtivartanam Urvarukamiva bandhanam mitror mukshiyamamritat swaha. Om Triumph Ijamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhanam mitror mukshiyamamritat swaha. Om Triambakam Ijamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhanam mitror mukshiyamamritat swaha. Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om.
Good stuff.
Dr. Steve,
Mm-hmm.
how you doing, man?
Good.
Good,
Better now.
good.
Tea. Tea.
I would have a little bit of that coffee if there's any of that left.
Oh yeah, okay, I'll get for you.
What do you want? Coffee or tea?
Oh, I'll take the tea actually. Please.
I'm gonna go caffeine this time.